All right, happy Friday. Recording this on a Thursday evening, but most of this will be for your pleasure on a Friday and before the weekend as we get our fantasy news and notes. And we'll wrap up with a recap of a fantastic night in UFC on this past Saturday. But first, the floor is yours. Ricky Larson of Lucky Shots Media with us, weekly hitter, and he's got some strong thoughts on OBJ to the LA Rams.
Yeah, so I've got this whole list here, right here of notes, news,
Yes.
from this week. On there, I had Odell drama. That's what I labeled it. Where will he end up? I didn't know if he was going to end up anywhere. Yesterday he said, "Oh, I'm going to take a little bit to figure it out."
Yeah, he said Sunday. I saw today, and then he's like, "Oh, never mind."
So the teams that apparently had interest yesterday: the Chiefs, Packers, Seahawks, Patriots, Saints. Rams not even mentioned. Teams I thought he should go to because he would help there the most: the Colts, Falcons, Saints, Eagles, Raiders. Those
Falcons.
are
I
all
would
teams
love
that
that.
could use another receiver. And where does he go? To the fucking Rams. Why?
Yeah.
I so badly wanted to see Matt Stafford and the Rams go make a playoff run, win a championship. I wanted to see Stafford get a ring. I mean, I love the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now Odell's there. I just hope they crash and burn. Why? Why would you go pick up Odell? He's a poison. He's just, after he made that crazy catch, he's just gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Better than he is and just drags everybody down. I just don't like it. I don't.
He did not handle the New York market too well. Cleveland, he soured that entire locker room, was a non-factor there. And now I'm curious to see what these details are, but it's McVay going all in, and he's going all in with star power in LA. I agree with you. I'm worried. I've got a Stafford future for MVP. I hope that doesn't, he's trying to force it to OBJ as opposed to getting reliable. What does Cooper Kupp think? He's leading the league in receiving, and now all of a sudden he's going to obviously have a big persona who wants targets in that same receivers room.
Yeah. I mean, and I'd venture to say he's the fourth best receiver in the room now.
Yeah.
Van Jefferson has been a
Yeah.
stud for this entire season, at least fantasy wise. He goes out, gets 7, 8 targets every game. And that is what we kind of expect OBJ to go into.
Yeah.
I
So what's the
mean,
fantasy spin? I mean, what happens with Higbee, Woods, Kupp, you name it, Jefferson?
I think Jefferson now, I had a poll actually up on Twitter because Keenan Allen may be out this week. I was like, do I pick up
Oh,
Van Jefferson or do I pick up Brandon Ayuk? Well, now the answer's clear to me. It's got to be Brandon Ayuk because, I mean, now OBJ is going to come in and that's going to be the spot he takes, knocking Van Jefferson down. And I don't even know why. I think Cooper Kupp's production, sadly enough, for anybody who has Cooper Kupp, is going to go down. I mean, Cooper Kupp at the midway point, fantasy MVP, 100%. No one else was doing anything else he was doing. Now that's going to come down. Robert Woods, whatever you were getting out of him every week, I think is going to come down. I think they're going to try to at least force 8 targets to OBJ per game.
right.
And where are those targets going to come from? They're going to come from the other receivers unless they're just throwing the ball every single play, which I know they're not going to do.
Right. So Deshaun Jackson leaves the Rams. He finds a new home with the Las Vegas Raiders. What is the fantasy spin there? Expect anything? I think I'm seeing him still as like the third guy receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, he honestly, as shitty as the Henry Ruggs deal is right now,
Yeah.
they were trying to find that kind of replacement. And we saw it when he was on the Rams. He had a couple of them, those deep touchdown plays. So I think that's really the only thing you can expect from him. I don't think you're going to see the mass amount of targets,
Yeah.
anything like that. I think Hunter Renfrow is still an absolute stud. He's just completely consistent. He doesn't go out and score you a lot of points, but he's a touchdown away every single week. As I said, Chase Edmonds was a couple weeks ago. He's a touchdown away from having you a really good fantasy game. And I don't think Deshaun Jackson coming in is going to affect that much. But if you have to take a flyer on a receiver, why not take it on Deshaun Jackson?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a deep ball play.
You brought up James Conner. You hit the nail right on the head last week as he goes absolutely off. What can we expect again? AJ Green. Let's just talk about the Cardinals as a whole. Hopkins still banged up. Is he going to play? Murray as well, even if he's not. Is Colt McCoy was just fine. AJ Green back. Does that affect Rondell Moore, Christian Kirk? What's going on with the Cardinals this week?
So, I mean, if you look at James Conner, he's going to have another big week regardless. I mean, he's doesn't have Chase Edmonds ahead of him right now.
Yep.
Edmonds is going to be out for this week. And you can see what happened. I mean, let's completely backtrack to even back on the Steelers. I was a guy who drafted Le'Veon Bell the season that he sat out. Who was my replacement? Well, I went ahead. I was like, oh, why not just pick up his backup, James Conner?
Yep.
Woo, was that a huge play? James Conner was great. Now we're on the Cardinals. James Conner leads the league in touchdowns, people. Everyone. Every player, except for quarterbacks, to hell with quarterbacks, but he leads every positional player with touchdowns. I mean, he's an absolute stud. Now he doesn't have to split with anybody if D-Hop's out still. I mean, that's just more of, because Chase Edmonds obviously was the pass guy. So now James Conner is also going to get that. I think it's going to be another big week from Conner. AJ Green coming back. Did they give him a brain implant or something so that he remembers he's playing football during the game? I mean,
run block instead of a pass.
But Rondell Moore, you just have to expect the same thing you expect from him every week. And if you don't expect at most 7 points, then you're being crazy because, he had one big week, but that was it.
Cam to the Panthers. Cue the crickets. What do you like there? Anything? PJ Walker is the guy, I think, this weekend because Darnold's on the IR. What do we think of the Panthers this week?
So I was actually really excited for PJ Walker.
Yeah.
Like last year, he had a real fun, exciting game when he played. I like him this week. I think he's a sneaky quarterback pick for this week. I think he could crack top 10 just because I like the way that he can play with Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey, right. I didn't think he was going to be back last week. He was kind of just got a little tune up, but still got 50 on the ground, 50 in the air. Now he's going to be back in full capacity. PJ Walker he's an athlete. I mean, he can sling the ball. He's a good passer. He can run the ball. So I really like that situation. But with Cam Newton, I mean, shit, as the Panthers, do you just say, fuck it, let's go back to Cam Newton? I mean,
right.
What else do we have to lose? Because Sam Darnold's a crock of shit that we should have known when we went out and got him. And PJ Walker is, infamous for, what was it, the XFL?
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So, I mean, why not just go back to Cam?
Of course. Yeah. And two different regimes now, too, because this new guy, Tepper, everyone loves a reunion. I'm sure Carolina's going to eat that up, their fan base, too. But, what have we seen from Cam the last 2 years? So it's Carolina, Arizona. So that's an interesting game. My question to wrap up this matchup is what's going on with DJ Moore? Are we still auto playing him or should we be a little bit more tepid and worried about it?
So I've already apologized to DJ Moore this year for being wrong about him. And now that the Panthers have returned back to earth, I feel like my take is just as good as it was when I started the season. I mean, I don't know. He's obviously a stud, but it's just the offense he's on. It just depends. He has turned himself into the number one target behind Christian McCaffrey. But I mean, you got to at least continue. See what PJ Walker does. And then next week, see what Cam does. Because I'm going to assume Cam's going to start the week after, see how those two games go, make other moves to replace him if these next 2 weeks don't go well.
Yep.
And then just see what you can do, because at most I can see him as a flex right now, but I don't know how the offense is going to look without Sam Darnold.
Right. Couple of guys coming back this week, potentially. Mike White is back. Russell Wilson trending that way. Chris Carson, we're hoping. Fantasy impact for those three. if any, this week?
Well, let's get on the Mike White hype train again. I mean,
of course.
I don't know if it was an interview, a tweet, or whatever, but he just flat out said, I should have been a number one quarterback picked in the draft. So, I mean,
of course,
why not? Here's the thing. We gave Josh Johnson all of his credit last week for the game he played. Who started out that game? Mike White. Who just drove down the field on an Indy defense that first drive of the game? Mike White. The guy's a stud.
Yeah.
And, I like him. I like him. And
see what he can do against the Bills.
Let's go. I mean, Trevor Lawrence didn't do anything against the Bills, but they still won. So
right. That was such a bizarre game. Seahawks.
Yeah. You got Wilson coming back, you got Chris Carson possibly. I like Russell Wilson. He had that finger issue. Is he coming back a little early? I mean, it was supposed to be about 6 weeks or something like that. I think we're sitting on 3 or 4 right now.
Yep.
So maybe he's coming back a little early, but hey, they're going against the Packers, who just notoriously this season don't score a lot of points. Russ has 2 huge playmakers. I mean, maybe we see a resurgence of Tyler Lockett as well. I mean, he had a big first couple of weeks, and with Russ coming back, does he just go to old reliable of Tyler Lockett? He's got DK as a deep threat. I mean, I'm excited to see him come back, and possibly, he had a little reset. Maybe he gets back on that MVP train.
Right. Honestly,
that he started at the beginning of the year.
We kind of talked about this on your podcast. You guys know him by now, Ricky Larson of Lucky Shots Media. You weren't expecting anything for the Cowboys Broncos. Broncos go in, steamroll the Cowboys. I'm expecting the worst for Falcons Cowboys this week. What can fantasy owners expect? Is it a Cowboys bounce back against the Falcons? I was shocked to see this. I know AJ Terrell is a Clemson cornerback. He's a good guy, a good prospect, but the team overall was overshadowing him. I saw today he's the cornerback with the least amount of pass yards against him. So it's like he's kind of just a sneaky talent on an overall pretty crappy defense.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're the best guy on a real shitty defense, you're obviously going to see less targets towards you because they're like,
stand out.
Why would we throw at the best guy when there's 10 other players that can't do anything?
Who does he take though? Cooper or Lamb? That's what's I'm interested in.
Cooper's a little maimed this week. Let's see. I thought I had something on it here. I don't. He's questionable, I think. Amari Cooper is, but he's optimistic to play. Yeah. I think you got to put him on CD Lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamb has more of the deep threat ability, more of the quickness and harder to cover type of things. Amari Cooper obviously is a red zone threat, so maybe he switches off depending on where they're at on the field. But I think the Cowboys can bounce back this week. I expect them to, but why would we count out Matt Ryan, who's been playing like a stud for the past few weeks? Matt Ryan, he had over 300 yards last week.
Against the Saints with nobody.
Exactly. Cordero Patterson, always love that man. Yep. He will forever be a fantasy hero for me this year. Kyle Pitts coming on. Olamide Zaccheaus apparently catches touchdowns.
Yes, he's back.
So, I mean, the spread you said is what, 9?
9.5, yeah, in favor
I think this
of Dallas.
game could be some sort of it could be last week's Jets versus Colts game, and we have 75 total points scored.
Right. God, I would cry if we won. I
want a live reaction if you guys beat the Cowboys this week.
I mean, shit, I was expecting nothing this season. I know our 4 wins are we'll take it against the Saints, but that's still Simeon. But shit, at least, I've been impressed with what Arthur Smith is doing. We assumed him coming in, he's just going to clean house, get Justin Fields or something, which kind of looks like maybe he should have, but no. Shit, he's been talking glowingly about Matt Ryan. And, just in terms of having a young quarterback, Matt Ryan's going to retire the next couple of years.
Don't start a hype train for Justin Fields. I don't care what it's looked like.
He's looking better. No.
It's smoke and mirrors, people. It's smoke and mirrors with Justin Fields.
Right. Hopefully it's not with Matt Ryan. You said it. He's having a good year with arguably his worst. He does it first year without Julio in his entire career, right? So maybe the first couple.
Ridley sitting out. And look at that too. The past couple weeks have been
no
great
Ridley
for Matt Ryan, and he doesn't even have Calvin Ridley. So I mean, I know the Falcons are, that letdown team.
Totally.
But they transferred that power over to the Vikings this year. So I think you guys are going to be all right.
I think we've always had it. It's just wherever I go, I guess. I live in Minneapolis. I gave it to the Vikings and then my Falcons fandom. Last thing I had was, can Donovan Peoples-Jones keep this up?
I mean, if you're going to, as a fantasy manager, if you're going to put him on your roster, you literally have like 3 receivers hurt and you're plugging him in. But if you want to just take a chance, say you're in a matchup where you're projected to lose by a shitload anyway, throw in Donovan Peoples-Jones because he's that deep threat. 2 straight weeks, he's had deep touchdowns. So, I mean, it's kind of like when we all took flyers on CJ Uzama.
Right.
Or even you. I don't know if you took the Muth last week.
I did not, unfortunately, but he's coming on.
Take the Muth, and he's the top tight end, So the Muth got Luth, and you did not have him. I'm very upset.
He's coming on. I know, that was my guy.
Hoping you had him last week.
I wish. Anything we missed in terms of fantasy news and notes? Otherwise, we'll get into DFS.
I think we touched base. Nick Chubb has COVID, maybe Jerns Johnson.
That's right. Yep.
Dawson Knox has had a hand injury. He's been practicing. Logan Thomas may be back. Dalvin Cook, his whole domestic deal.
That's brutal.
It's not going to affect him apparently this week, but it's something to look at where that goes.
Yeah.
You may not know. And then we talked about Mike White, so I'm good.
Good stuff. Yeah, not good stuff with Dalvin Cook. Yeah, looking into that, it's he said, she said, and like various stories of different people being at gunpoint, which is crazy. So,
well, and it's literally he said, she said. They're both accusing each other of
in the same room, right? Yeah, bad stuff. The photos were gruesome as well. Okay, my lineup for the week: Brady is back in action. I expect him to just destroy the football team. I mentioned I was picking the Colts for my survivor team. I've switched to the Bucks because I just gotta get a sure thing in there, hopefully. Running backs for me, I'm going Eckler and Jones. Running with Devontae Adams as my receiver, my main receiver, right? Jacoby Myers and Michael Pittman. Myers has let me down a little bit this season. What have been your thoughts there? Yeah.
Yeah, I am an owner of him in one of my leagues, a Yahoo league, and I don't normally do Yahoo leagues, so it's weird. But yeah, been putting him in. It's just, but you can't really blame him. Look how many passing yards Mac Jones has per game. It's like 200 to 250. It's just
it's a run first team. They switch up options every week.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a guy that should be able to go out and give you a 15-point game consistently. I mean, he's that kind of talent. He's just on a team right now that's the throwing the ball is not really their forte as of right now. So I like Jacoby Myers. There's always a chance, but this offense just does not complement him so far this year.
Right. Rolling with 2 cheap tight ends, Jared Cook and Tyler Conklin. Conklin's coming out of nowhere and just kind of been Cousins' target for 5, 6, and 50. So I'm rolling with him there in the flex.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of talked about Carson Wentz a little bit, and I spent down on quarterback, went out and bought a good matchup. Carson Wentz, he's only 5,900, projected 19. If he does play, I honestly like this matchup. He hasn't been that bad. Jacksonville's given up 5 25-point plus games. So they go out and they give up a lot of points to quarterbacks. Carson Wentz hasn't looked terrible. He's been taking care of the ball. Yep. So why not go for him in a matchup against a shitty defense? I don't mind it. And it opens up the door for me to really stack up my entire lineup.
Yes.
So I'm sure you can guess a running back I've got.
Cordero.
Cordero Patterson, 6,600. He's going against Dallas, who they're pretty decent against running backs, but Cordero just does everything. He's going to go out. He's going to run the ball some. He's going to catch the ball some. Shit, I wouldn't be surprised if against Dallas they pull out some trick plays and he throws the ball one time.
Bro, did you see this? He's been petitioning the Falcons defensive coordinator to try and get him to play some snaps at free safety. Let's do it. What if him and AJ Terrell turn into like the no-fly zone?
Yeah, for one of the biggest Iron Man people now in the NFL, plays every position on offense, goes to play some defense. It sounds like you went and created a player on Madden and you just made everything on the sliders 99 and you let him play everywhere. Why not? I mean, that would be a hell of a lot of fun to see. At the running back, with the Nick Chubb news, if Chubb doesn't play, I actually somehow in a fantasy league was able to go out and get Dearness Johnson off after waivers ran.
Okay.
I don't know how, but
right. Everyone missed the block there.
I'm plugging him into my fantasy lineup as well. He's only 4,700, so you get to spend down on a running back who's going to give you that kind of production. I like it. New England's given up 7 games of 15 plus, and in his only start, he went out against the Broncos, had 146 rushing yards, a touchdown, a couple catches for about 20 yards. So even in my normal league, I'm going to go out and start him.
I got absolutely screwed by a trade I just made. I gave away C-Mac. I mean, I haven't been having a great year. I kind of had to just go all out to try and make a run. I give up C-Mac, who obviously killed my season, and Kittle, because I have Gesicki, for Chubb and Keenan Allen. Chubb gets COVID the next day. Keenan Allen might not play this week either.
Right. I mean, those are two players that, first of all, Chubb, it's just COVID. So if you are missing him, you're just missing him a week.
Right. And he's vaccinated, so we're still holding out hope he could play Sunday.
Exactly. And Keenan Allen, he just had his best game of the season.
Yeah.
It looked like last year when he was getting all the targets, The only problem, I also have Keenan Allen in a stack with Justin Herbert, so I'm a little worried that it's a knee issue. That could not be good. But, if they both are playing and healthy, I think both of those guys are going to give you
an upgrade,
what you need for the rest of the year.
Right.
Wide receivers, I'm going Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman Jr.
Yes.
Why not go Emmanuel Sanders this week?
Okay.
I mean, Stephon Diggs is just too expensive to try to plug into this lineup. And Emmanuel Sanders has just as good a touchdown chance as any of those Bills receivers. So why not go for him? He's got 2 games with 2 touchdowns. So that's how I'm rolling.
Love it.
And then, Terry McLaurin against the Buccaneers. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton. So that's their top guy. I mean, gotta go chase those targets, I guess. And then Michael Pittman Jr., especially in this lineup, stacked with Carson Wentz. And Pittman's he got 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks.
He's been an animal.
Smash it, especially if he's going to take him from Carson Wentz. I mean, that just helps your lineup a whole bunch right there. You get 2 touchdowns for the price of 1.
Right.
And then tight end. Maybe I'm a little late to the party, but I'm going with the Muth.
Yeah, Patty.
Got to. In the last 3 weeks, he's averaging 16 points a game. Like, it's not just last week that he had a huge game. He's been getting consistent throughout the last 3 weeks. 20 targets, 16 catches, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns, all in the last 3 weeks. I think he's becoming a weapon that Ben likes.
Yeah, he loves him a good big target for sure.
And then at the flex, why not? I've got the money for it. James Conner.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. If I can get a James Conner in my flex with what I feel is a lot of firepower on the rest of the team, give it to me. I mean, he's 6,300, but again, he leads the NFL in touchdowns. No James Conner, possibly no D-Hop. It's all just shaping up for him to be the top running back again this week.
Right. Yeah. No Edmonds, no D-Hop potentially. And yeah, he's going to feast again against Carolina, who looks pretty down.
Over under 3 touchdowns.
Gosh, I might have to go under. That's high. That's a
Yeah.
high one, but watch him just blow right by it too.
Right.
Um,
Get like 5 touchdowns.
right, exactly. Good lineup. Let's wrap up with UFC. Gaethje Chandler was everything we wanted it to be. Chandler looked good.
Yes.
Gaethje kind of came back from the dead and just did his thing. Chandler's 1-2, but I mean, he's a fighter and now he's chatting up McGregor. What did you think about that possibly being a fight and then his fight with Gaethje?
The fight was like, to have that fight be what kicks off the card.
Oh, it was crazy.
That was insane. I mean, both of these guys they laid a lot of leather. Honestly, no one really tried to go to the ground, which was kind of something we thought may happen. But it was a hell of that was the fight of the night, 100%. But Gaethje, he still got it. I did say I think it's Michael Chandler's time, but Gaethje, anytime Chandler tried to go to the ground, stuffed it and just continued to punch him in the face. I mean, it was everything you wanted in a fight.
God, it was an absolute banger. Rose outlasts Zhang Weili. Like she just played had the better fight, I think, the better game plan. And I have some serious questions now about Weili as Rose, effectively takes her out again. It's been the stud knockout in freak fashion, and then she just grinded you out for 5 solid rounds.
I mean, it was a split decision. I thought it was pretty close. If judges scored it towards Weili, I wouldn't have been upset. I could have seen it that way as well. But Rose she proved everything I thought, that she's just that good. And we didn't get to really see it right away when she was a champion the first time.
Right.
Well, now we see she starts off the championship reign with a knockout. You get the same person who game plans and knows what you're going to do because they fought you before. And you go out, like you said, grind them out. Rose is going to be a problem for a while.
I was on Weili, so I think that's why I'm kind of a little bit more pissed off, because it was like I thought we had it in the bag the first 2 rounds, and then I watched it. It was like, wait, you can't be on your back the whole time for the final 3 rounds and expect to, grind that out. Yeah, it was a close fight, but I thought the final 3 rounds just kind of swayed that fight
100%,
in Rose's favor. So after that happened, I just unloaded on Usman and just hammered him home, cashed it, take it all the way to the bank. Colby Covington breaks character at the end of that fight. And was like, hey, it's all about money, man. Like, I don't mean that shit. It's like, hey, you got to make a living. I understand that. Colby stood in there. It was a good fight, but it was just Usman's an absolute nightmare.
Well, you got doubled up in the second round. Just Poppy dropped and then Poppy dropped again. And it was funny. So our internet actually went out that night. So I didn't get to watch the fights on the night of. I had to watch them the morning before football started. And my girlfriend came back and watched them after I did. And she texted me when she's watching that fight and she goes, I just want to know what it would be like to get punched in the face and be smiling about it. Because every time he got clocked in the face, Covington just kept smiling and coming forward.
Yeah.
It was a fun fight to watch, but Usman, 6 straight title wins.
Yeah.
15-0 in the UFC. Like, who's going to stop this man?
Yeah, who's next?
We have, I think the top 2 pound for pound people are Amanda Nunes.
Oh, yeah.
Got to be number 1. And Kamaru Usman's a close second.
Yeah, Nunes, they can't even. She's fighting again here soon, and she just accepts every fight because they can't find anyone to go even close of taking down the lioness. Usman, I mean, they threw star power in there, but he makes him look inferior every time.
Yeah, I mean, what is it now? 3 straight wins against what? Twice it was
twice against Masvidal. He fit in a crazy Burns knockout, and now Covington. Yeah, it's been dominant.
You can't say he's just cherry picking people. I mean, Masvidal at the time he fought him was shooting up because of the things he had done. Burns is an absolute stud, and Colby Covington, how are you not going to fight the second fight? You know, I mean,
Totally. I totally agree with you. It's like, he's not shying away from these big time fights. I'm just trying to pull up the rankings right now just to even be like, who the hell is, going to actually contend with this man? Because I mean, again, it's still Covington, Burns. You know what? Leon Edwards might be the guy who gets a title shot, and maybe that's a great fight, but he just had his fight unfortunately canceled as his opponent had to. It was Masvidal, right?
Well, there's one of the Russian guys actually is looking to try to step in for that fight, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
As well. I can't think of what his name is, but he's got some.
I think it was Bilal Muhammad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then looking, I mean, Chimaev, that dude's scary. Yeah, okay. Muhammad's number 9. Those guys are the future. I think those two fought pretty recently too.
Well, and what a shot for them if they get to hop up and fight somebody like Edwards.
No kidding. And his 9-fight unbeaten streak. Appreciate it as always, my man Ricky Larson, Lucky Shots Media. Check out his stuff, our collab podcast, and you can catch him here every week on Corbet's Corner with some great stuff, fantasy football news and notes, and some bonus UFC as well. Appreciate it, my man.
Yep, thank you.